think that's probably debatable to some degree.
What is the real truth about Kristin Cavallari and Morgan Wallen? Kristin confirmed she dated a mystery guy her kids are fans of, but she also denied that they are still dating. Kristin spilled the tea about her dating life in Nashville, but was she throwing shade at Morgan? The Kristin and Morgan dating rumor started with one inside source. In June, an anonymous hot tip appeared on the DeuxMoi Instagram account. Allegedly, Morgan and Kristin were spotted in Nashville. That sent the rumor into overdrive. On September 12th, Kristin guested on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. Andy said he wanted to crack the case.
Oh, well, it's obviously Morgan Wallen.
Kristin ended up making a zipping her lips motion and saying, I don't know. So what's the big deal? The Celeb Wives of Nashville subreddit took this rumor and ran with it back in the summer. There were hundreds of comments on the Chatter About Morgan and Kristin dating thread. We know that Kristin was at Morgan's show in Chicago last year. She looked like she was having a great time. Allegedly, there was also TikTok videos showing Morgan and Kristin in an elevator in Chicago. But people weren't so sure about Morgan and Kristin as a couple. One Reddit user wrote, based on his prior girlfriends, she seems like a grandma. Another user was more, so what, about the whole thing, writing in part, I listened to Casey's Laguna Beach podcast and it sounded like she has dated around a bit since her divorce and hasn't really had anything serious with anyone. This user also thought that it was no more than just another casual thing for either of them. Before she appeared on Watch What Happens Live, Kristin was on the cover of Us Weekly with a big reveal. She was launching her new podcast, Let's Be Honest with Kristin Cavallari, on September 12th. Kristin said to Us Weekly, this is the real me for the first time in my entire career. I'm in a really good place in my life, and I feel like I can finally open that door and let people in. Kristin also confirmed to Us Weekly that her 3 kids, Camden, Jackson, and Saylor, asked her to go out with the mystery guy, simply because they wanted to meet him. But that's not all the tea that Kristin spilled to Us Weekly. She dropped some major bombshells. So was she talking about Morgan? Kristin got asked some pretty crazy questions, and she gave some super specific answers. Us Weekly asked Kristin, you live in Nashville. Is the dating scene there better or worse than in LA? That's when Kristin threw shade, but at who? She said, I thought LA was bad, but Tennessee is worse. Kristin revealed that she dated a couple musicians. She told Us Weekly, let's just say they're not their music. And Kristin called that a huge letdown. Kristin expected a musician to be communicative and express their feelings. When she was on a date with this musician, she thought to herself, hello, where did that guy go? Then Kristin dropped another bombshell. She said that the musicians she dated didn't write their own music. But Morgan does write his own music, or at least most of his songs. Plenty of inside sources think that Last Night is Morgan's best song. And many people think that Last Night sets the record straight about Morgan's personal life. There's only one way to describe Morgan's personal life. That word is complicated. And since Morgan doesn't really communicate about his personal life or the scandals he's faced during his career so far, fans listen to his music for clues. The lyrics of Last Night describe a girl and a guy who drink too much on the last night of their relationship. When you consider Morgan's messy romantic life and his recent struggles with drinking, it sounds like Morgan is being open and honest. So he couldn't be one of those Nashville musicians that Kristin was throwing shade at. Or could he? The real truth is, Morgan didn't write Last Night, even though the song sounds exactly like his life. Kristin is probably the best source to listen to, and Andy did his best to set the record straight on Watch What Happens Live. Although Kristin didn't want to budge. At first, Kristin said she was not answering a fan question during the show. The fan wanted to know which famous mystery guy Kristin previously dated. Kristin chose to play coy, so Andy went ahead and answered the question for her. Andy claimed to have proof. He said Kristin had just said her kids are big fans of his. And then Andy doubled back on his statement. He said it might not be Morgan, because Kristin implied that she never went on a date with him. And that could have been the end of this. Except Kristin threw a curveball. She laughed and asked Andy, did I say that? So Andy repeated it, and that's when it got twisted. Kristin laughed and said, I am not dating him. Like she really meant she wasn't dating him anymore. The Morgan and Kristin dating rumor might never be confirmed, unless it was Morgan that Kristin was talking about in that Us Weekly article. At least Kristin has set the record straight on something. She told Us Weekly that she's sworn off the musician. Kristin said it's just the whole ego thing that comes with it. She claimed she just wants someone normal, because she's at a more peaceful place in her life now. Unfortunately, peaceful doesn't describe Morgan's personal life right now. Although Morgan alleges that he's trying harder to be a better person, mainly because he's a single dad to a young son named Indigo. Morgan was engaged to his son's mother, Katie Smith, in 2019, but they split up before the baby arrived in July 2020. Morgan officially dated Paige Lorenz before the Kristin rumors started. They even went Instagram official with their relationship. But Paige and Morgan officially broke up in 2022, and multiple sources claim to know why. One source even dropped the bombshell to Page 6. This source said that Paige suspected that Morgan was cheating on her with multiple people. Shockingly, the source also claimed that Paige didn't find out about Morgan's cheating until after their relationship went public. Paige allegedly started getting all these messages on Instagram, with warnings from other girls who wrote, I was with him, we slept together. Kristin doesn't need that kind of drama anymore, and she confirmed that fact in the Us Weekly interview. She's done with musicians in Nashville. But Kristin also revealed that she's still determined to have fun in her dating life. She said, "This is the first time in my life I've really dated." Kristin explained that she's always had boyfriends, but she got married young, and since her marriage ended, she wants to enjoy this new casual dating phase in her life. Kristin also claimed she will have guys on her podcast to shed light on dating. Kristin said, "It's one thing for us girls to sit here and be like, this is why he didn't call you back." She thinks having guys on her podcast will be really beneficial. Kristin said the guys can be honest about what they're really thinking and feeling, and everyone listening to or watching her podcast can benefit from that. It sounds amazing, but it would be more amazing if Morgan showed up to explain his side of the story one day. But I doubt that will ever happen. Us Weekly asked Kristin what she's looking for in a guy. She said, someone who's secure. She revealed that she needs someone who's very, very confident. She explained that her life is really great, and she actually loves being on her own. The new guy in her life will not only have to be the best bonus dad to her kids, Kristin confirmed that he must also be someone who can add joy to her life. What do you think about Kristin's shocking confession about dating in Nashville? Could she really have been talking about Morgan? Will you listen to her podcast? Does this change how you think about Morgan? Let me know in the comments below.